Thank you. All right, Evan, let's start with you. How long have you been in the office and who are you working with?
So my name is Evan Mitchell. I work with Brenda Martin and I've been here for I think a little bit less than a month.
Nice.
My name is Christina Schmidt. I've been with John L. Scott, Renton for a long time. I don't know, 12 years, I think.
Yeah.
I started way back, worked for Colin Wynn, back with Colin Wynn.
Nice. Good.
My name is Aaliyah Brink. I work under Yvonne Brink, and I've been working since October of 2020.
Nice. All right, Conley, is this for the assistant?
Hi, I'm Conley Quillen. I just got to the John L. this office about a month and a half ago, and I'm working with Christy Dell.
Great. Is it Vivian? I'm sorry, Ben Allen.
Yes, it's Vivian. I have been working for about less than a month and with Perkins and Associates.
Great. And Miss Andrea?
Hi, this is Andrea. I've just started working with Michael Wong.
Great. And we have one more. We're just introducing ourselves, how long we've been here and what broker we're working with.
I just started last Wednesday, so 1 week now, and I'm working with Josh Oliver.
Oh, fantastic. Good deal. Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to try to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to just speak up. Let me know if you have any questions. People have a lot of different ideas on what it means to be a broker, okay? So if everybody could just unmute and everybody that's in person, like, what do you guys think it means to be a broker? Sell lots of houses. What else? What do brokers do on a daily?
Make relationships, talk to people. A lot of things.
I think that the brokers are legally responsible for the contracts that are signed. So just that aspect of it, they hold that legal responsibility for the end of making sure all the contracts are done correctly with the client.
Absolutely. Those are great answers. So I always like to start with that because even when I'm interviewing new brokers, I get a lot of people that, and I swear this is true, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just love HGTV and I've always wanted to be a broker. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be one of those too. Because you just walk in and voila, it's sold. Like, so I would like to make sure people have a very realistic view on what it means. So we are going to start with our little pamphlet here. So Christina, feel free to grab one. I'm going to do a screen share for you guys. And for those that are virtual, feel free, like I said, to jump in anytime and ask questions. Why can I not see that? Oh, there they are. All right, so we're going to start with who's who at John L. Scott, just so you kind of have an idea of what the different positions are and who the people are. Okay, so we have some Kent North folks and Renton folks, so we're going to do both. So starting with Kent North, Jim Woolner's the branch manager. We also have Eric Scholl and Simona on the leadership team. And Amy is the office manager. At Renton, I'm the branch manager. Katie's the assistant branch manager. For those of you that have been around a while, Albie Mushkatel is our business strategy coach. He was the branch manager here for about 36 years. So Albie and I transitioned about 3 years ago, but he's still very much part of our team. And then Colin is our office manager, and Sadie is our lead broker services rep. Okay, so if you have questions about contracts and things like that, you're gonna wanna go to your broker or somebody in the leadership team. If you have questions about technology, things that are just a step down below clients and contracts, you wanna go to your office manager, Colin, or Amy. But if the copy machine's broke, if you have questions on how to do mailers, you can go to Sadie, or Amy at Renton, or at Kent North. Sadie also runs our marketing program in the Renton office. So if your broker is asking to, you know, requesting that you start some type of annual marketing plan to their database or something along those lines, you can get flyers through Sadie and she'll go over the how-to of all of that. But she's kind of our go-to person. At the bottom, and everyone here probably has different roles on their team, okay? So there are going to be some things that apply to some of you and some things that don't. For those of you that are helping your lead broker with transaction management, so you're actually helping with the administrative part of the transaction, Brian Ross is one of the commissions manager, and his email is here. And Brian is the guy that if there's a question on commissions or anything like that, that's your go-to. Jenny Orr is in charge of our SkySlope. So SkySlope is our online transaction management tool in a sense. And it basically, that's what ensures you're compliant with state regulations. All right, any questions so far? So, this is in the right order. Next, we're going to move on to the law of real estate agency. And the law of real estate agency really is the RCW laws that a broker has to follow. And I probably bet that 30% of brokers have never read this. But I always like to go through the general duties of a broker. So if you go to page 3 and 4 in the highlighted section, we're just going to briefly go through this because I think it's important that you know why your broker is doing some things, and some things are just a matter of law. I mean, you've all seen contracts, I'm sure, where things are crossed out and initialed. But when something is law, when it's RCW, that cannot be crossed out. That cannot be changed. So this is a perfect example of that. So on section 3, duties of a broker generally, regardless of whether a broker is an agent, the broker owes to all parties to whom the broker renders real estate broker services the following duties which may not be waived. And what this means is whoever the broker is providing services to, whether in contract or not, they have to be compliant with these laws. So number 1 is to exercise reasonable skill and care. That's huge. So if an agent fumbles a contract, that's not exercising reasonable skill and care. If someone comes up to me and says, hey, Shai, I want to sell a nail salon. Believe me, I frequent the nail salon often, but I don't know how much the equipment costs. I don't know about the pedicure chairs. I don't even know what it's called. I could not sell that business because I could not practice reasonable skill and care because I don't know how. Now I can sell a building, I can sell a house, I can sell a condo, but if it's something that's over my area of expertise, that's now against agency law. So if you ever hear your broker say, I gotta go get help from someone else, I have to reach out to an expert, a commercial broker, that's why. B is to deal honestly and in good faith. It is actually a law that we're honest and that we deal in good faith. So it's very, very important. There's a lot of people that think real estate brokers are slimy or we're like used car salespeople. And, you know, there's always some bad apples, but most of the time, the majority, and it's written in the law. C is to present all written offers, written notices, and other written communication to and from either party in a timely manner, regardless of whether the property is subject to an existing contract for sale or the buyer is already a party to an existing contract of purchase. So if you're helping your broker with transaction management, you should be following or help them come up with a system to save their correspondence, which means all emails, all text messages, anything like that, they need to save for 7 years. If it's an email, the easiest thing to do is in SkySlope, the transaction management system, every property has its own email address. So you can get into a habit of putting that SkySlope email address into emails and asking people to reply all or forwarding it to SkySlope. Text messages are a little bit of a different beast. A lot of people will use WhatsApp as for their text messaging because then the whole string can be email. So again, this is just if your broker brings it up and you're trying to come up with a system. Also, to present all written offers. We've been in a market with multiple offers. So technically, we have to show the seller all of those offers. Now, does anybody know the easiest way to show a seller all the offers and then be able to prove it?
That's a true question.
You're gonna smack me. So all I gotta do is email it to them and save the sent email. But the key is to save the sent email. And again, usually these things are very minimal. They're not problematic, but you wanna learn from Jump Street the right way to do some things. D is to disclose all existing material facts known by the broker and not apparent or readily ascertainable to a party, provided that this subsection shall not be construed to imply any duty to investigate matters that a broker has not agreed to investigate. So if I go sell a house and I see that this roof is leaking and the seller's like, nah, we're not gonna worry about that. We don't need to disclose that. By law, if I have information that there's a material defect, I have a duty to disclose. But don't misunderstand that to mean I have a duty to investigate. So I tell all my sellers, all my rental properties, I've never been in a crawl space. I don't ever plan on going in a crawl space. But if my contractor told me I had a water problem and I didn't take care of it, I would then have to disclose that to a buyer. E, to account in a timely manner for money and property received from or on behalf of either party. This is related to earnest money. So if you are helping your broker process earnest money, you should be very clear on the time frames and the expectation of all parties and have some kind of tracking method. Renton, when you're hired on here, we go over exactly what has to happen with earnest money. And you can go to Colin at Renton or Amy at Kent North, but you need to make sure that's one where you need to dot your I's and cross your T's. F is to provide a pamphlet on the law of agency in the form prescribed in RCW 1886-120 to all parties to whom the broker renders real estate broker services. So basically what that means is before a client signs a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement, they need to receive a copy of this. So again, that's the law. And last, to disclose in writing to all parties to whom the broker renders real estate brokerage services. That means it's never a secret who represents whom. I represent the buyer or I represent the seller. So that's very, very clear. So I just like to run through this so you guys get an idea of some of the laws that the brokers have to follow. Any questions? All right. And for all of those that are virtual, like I said, feel free to jump in anytime. All right. Next, we're going to go over a little bit of a job description for brokers, okay? So I've been with John L. Scott for 29 years. I know the ins and outs of brokers. I was an assistant for many years. I worked at the front desk. I was the office manager. So I think I have a pretty global view of what it really means to be a broker. And I am a broker. I'm broker minded. So I think it's important that team members understand what brokers do on a daily basis, just because sometimes that will help with what frame of mind they're in or what they may need. So one of the most important things a broker will do is generate leads, okay? Now, depending on your role in the team, you may be able to help with that. So they may need help with marketing, which can mean a number of different things. It can be print, it can be electronic, it can be social media. But generating leads is one of their most important things, because if they don't have anyone to help sell or buy a property, they don't have clients. So generating leads is huge. They have to keep informed of all the values and trends. So we read a lot of newspaper articles. We talk to a lot of people because we have to really stay up to date on what is going on in the market. We keep educated and informed on all legal issues in real estate. This is huge. Now, this is something you probably don't have to worry about too much unless you're licensed and writing contracts. And if you are licensed and you are writing contracts, this needs to be a priority for you as well. To be an ongoing source of information and value to clients and their sphere of influence. So who can tell me what a sphere of influence is?
Basically anybody that you touch in your day-to-day life.
Anybody you touch in your day-to-day life? Okay. Anybody else? Somebody on Zoom want to tell me what they think a sphere of influence is? All right. So yes, anyone that you touch in your day-to-day life. However, with the sphere of influence or a database, most brokers, well, all of them should do it. They should have some kind of platform of everyone they know. And if your broker doesn't have that, whether it's an Excel or a CRM, like a top producer or an app or a constant contact, It's a place where they keep all of their names and contact information. That's imperative in real estate. So when it comes to your database or your sphere of influence, you need to be an ongoing source of information. People's homes are their most important and largest asset. Even if they own stocks and all of that kind of stuff, most of the time it doesn't equal what their property is worth. So their property is their biggest asset. So the broker has to be the voice of information. So they're always trying to find new ways to communicate. They're trying to get the message out to their people, because if their people don't have a message from them, their people are going elsewhere to find the message. And that's what we don't want. Cultivate relationships. This is one of their most important jobs. People work with brokers that they know and they like and they trust. And many of us have worked years and years on a reputation of knowing us, liking us, and trusting us. So when you're a team member of that broker, you're an extension of that broker. So I'll have people help me out from time to time who are brokers, show houses for me, that type of thing. And I always have a little meeting with them and say, okay, when you're going out there, you're an extension of me. My expectations when you're in front of a client is to be early, because I'm always early. I'm always 10 minutes early. So you have to be an extension of me. My expectation is that you're dressed professionally when you're in front of a client. And I go through this list just so they understand, and as a newer broker, they can help build their business in that way. But it's imperative that team members understand why the standard is so high in this regard. They define and plan the day and manage the plan. So brokers oftentimes have 50 different balls juggling up in the air. And most of us are pretty good at it. Most of us enjoy it. You'll hear brokers all the time say, oh, but it's my ADD. Well, I think having ADD in a business like this will help you thrive, because you have to be able to do all of these different things. But with that being said, sometimes the team members have different personality types because they thrive in their avenue and what they do. So sometimes you might have to say, hey, broker, now may not be the right time to talk and meet, but we need to set up a time because there are some things I need to go over with you. And that can be a really great way to communicate with them, because sometimes it's just like, oh, I have 50 balls in the air and now I have 51. And it doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you and help you through it. And everybody's personality is different, but sometimes it's a good time to say, maybe we could set aside, 15 minutes here, and you can give them time to get all their ball situations that are up in the air. Manage money, systems, and tools. So brokers are independent contractors. It's like they're their own employer. So they have to manage their money for taxes. They get paid, in bulk in a sense. And then they have to make that last. They have to pay for all their marketing expenses, the team expenses, all the signage. They have systems and tools for their database or their online marketing. So they're always trying to make sure everything is just moving forward. They have to delegate and empower staff. And that's really big. Most of us are control freaks. We just are. And some of us are nicer than others. But sometimes brokers have to learn to let go. And you having confidence and saying, hey, just give me a shot. I can do this. It's okay to say that to brokers. Hold daily and weekly team meetings with client reviews built in. So it's important when you're on a team that there's some kind of consistency of communication. And if your broker, if you don't have that in your team, bring that up. Brokers love new ideas. Christina knows this probably very well. Now it's been COVID, so most of us haven't been to any real estate seminars, but we love real estate seminars. And we come back from real estate seminars with a brain full of ideas, and we want to do them all. And then we do none of that. Like, seriously. But we're like, oh, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna make $1 million and I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. And then we get really busy with our clients. And we're gonna talk about a way to be able to help a broker manage that. Because we wanna keep the excitement, we wanna keep the energy flowing, but we wanna be able to break it down so we can actually execute. And then we say the rest of the job. Because as you know in here, we didn't talk about listing, selling, contracts, marketing, none of that. This is more of all the behind the scenes that people don't realize. Any questions so far? Y'all are a quiet group. For my Zoomies, are there any questions? Conley, Vivian, Andrea? All right. So question, how many of you are licensed? Christina, I know Conley is.
I plan on getting it, but I'm not yet.
Okay, awesome. So you want to make sure, and we're not going to go through every single one of these, but you want to make sure that you know what you can and cannot do, okay? So unlicensed assistants who work under direct instruction or supervised of a licensed broker or managing broker may perform the following tasks or duties, okay? So you can pick up documents and keys, but you can never use a key box. You can follow up on the loan, and you can even pick up documents after the contract's been negotiated. So there's no reason you can't call escrow and get an update on where the file is. You can call the lender and get an update on where the file is. You can write and place advertising under the supervision of the broker. You can gather market analysis information. You can perform normal clerical duties. You can obtain public information like tax records, utility companies, septic information. You can make keys. You can install key boxes. You just can't open them. You can place signs on the property, directional arrows. You can greet people at an open house. You can hand out flyers. But what you cannot do is basically, you can talk to them about the property if the agent's given you permission to do so. You can submit forms and changes to the MLS. So if a broker hands you, here is a mutually accepted agreement, you can then take that and then process the transaction. You can turn in the earnest money. I'm sorry, I skipped one. Check on progress of loans and credit reports. You can turn in the earnest money as long as you're compliant with the firm's terms of earnest money. You can help with repairs and maintenance, like scheduling contractors, roofing companies, things along those lines. You can be a telemarketer. You can actually cold call for the brokers. Okay. You may not show properties, answer questions, interpret information about the property or price or condition. You cannot interpret information about listing, title, financing, contracts, closings, anything like that. You cannot fill in forms. You cannot do contracts. Now, even if you're not doing contracts, I highly recommend if you're doing any kind of transaction management that you take contract classes, because it will be helpful for you to understand a lot of terminology. There are words like mutual acceptance and earnest money and closing date and possession date and contingency. And it's almost like a real estate language. So taking contract classes will help you with this real estate language. You cannot hold or disperse trust funds or perform in any act with an intent to circumvent or which would result in any kind of licensing law. Okay, so any questions about that? Well, we are flying through this class. So this is going to be a little bit more of the interactive part, okay? So I'm gonna go around to everyone, and I know a lot of you are very new and some not so new, but I want you to share what you think your top 2 or 3 things in your job description are. And this is like Assistant 101 or Ops Manager 101. Hopefully, as we move through the year, we've in the past done operations manager or assistant mastermind groups, where we'll share different tips and tricks and apps and all of those types of things. So it'll be interesting to find out, like, Evan, what your focus is versus Christina and that type of thing. And then we're going to go over some of the general duties that are performed. So Evan, what are a couple of the general duties that you focus on Brenda's team?
Marketing and data input.
Okay. So when you say marketing, is that print material or online or?
Yeah, social media and as well as print material.
Okay. And then with data entry, is that like, what type of work is that?
Like I haven't put anything in, but I've helped Brenda with the MLS and stuff, so like watching her do it. So
Nice. Okay, perfect. Christina, how about you?
I think it's just really important to work with someone that you mesh with really well. Because I found, like, I've worked for a bunch of brokers over the years and back with Colin now, but I have no hesitation to tell him what to do. And I think that's really important sometimes, because like they're just like, oh, and then you're like, okay, no, stop, like prioritize this, you need to do this. And I'm not scared of telling him that, but I felt like super scared of telling other people that, because they're like, don't tell me what to do, I'm the boss. And so I think it's really important to find someone that you work well with. I think that's like one of the biggest things. And I mean, I do everything for him. He literally talks to people. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to them. I don't like talking to strangers for like little small talk. Hate it. He loves it. Great for him. And then I do everything on the other side. So like I write all the contracts for him and he's like, I hate it. And I'm like, I'll do it. No worries. So I think just like finding exactly like what that person's good at and what you're good at is like super important. And I'm really good at like administrative stuff and like the back end, and he's really good at like being an upfront people person. Actually, like I'm not bad at that, but like he's really good at that. So, yeah.
And I think it's imperative what Christina said, as you grow your role in a team, brokers love ideas. Brokers love accountability. So if you see your broker is struggling with something, and maybe it's happened a few times, and you have an idea to fix it, don't hold back. Now, brokers also don't love change because we're control freaks. So give them a little grace and realize it might take a few conversations to get them to take the step. But understanding why a broker is the way they are, and know, like, this is their little baby. I mean, their business is everything to them. So sometimes it's like, you gotta soften them up a little bit, get them comfortable with some change. But I promise you, they will appreciate the input. Aaliyah, what is your role on Yvonne's team?
So I do like social media and then stuff on like Canva for like flyers and all that. And then I do a lot. And then she's focusing on like YouTube this year, so I do all like the editing and B-roll and all that stuff. And then I'm like when she's at the office, whatever, like all her calls get directed to me. I write everything down. I'm on her email every day, making sure she has like a call list for the day and that anything important kind of, or like you're talking about, we have like a TC, and so they'll send like the important dates, and I make sure to log those so that I can follow up on those. And then like ordering signs and stuff for the houses, dropping stuff off.
Nice.
A little bit of everything.
Nice, great. And I'm sorry, can you remind me your name?
Autumn.
Autumn.
So I am in a marketing role with Josh's team.
Okay.
I'm taking over some of the things that one of the, we have one who was doing marketing and listing, and now she's kind of transitioning doing listing. So I'm taking a lot of the marketing off her plate. I have a whole page of things that I have to learn so far just to do that I have just barely scratched the surface. But then I also have a whole list of ideas of things that I talk to them about of additional ways that we can increase our marketing, kind of our footprint into different marketing options and things. So learning what they've been doing and then trying to add on areas that have been kind of gaps because they haven't had the team bandwidth to be able to do it.
Nice, great. How about you, Conley?
I've been doing showings, Sky Slope. I've written a few contracts, some social media stuff, and then just kind of learning how Christy does everything compared to how I was doing it, and just kind of filling in where she can't get things done or needs extra time.
Awesome. How about you, Vivian?
I am overall helping manage the broker, also doing some online social media marketing and then data entry in MLS.
Great. And how about you, Andrea?
Yeah, I've been helping with marketing, so like social media, mailers, and also back-end tasks. So like the documents, what's needed in a transaction and things like that.
Great. And Sunya, are you still on the call? I can't see you. Sunya, would you like to share your role on Bonnie's team? I'm sorry, Sunya, we can't hear you. So if we can get the audio fixed, feel free to jump in. Oh, okay. So Sunya's audio is not working, which that's fine. But as you can see, I think it's important, and the reason I wanted to kind of go through that is so that you guys can all see that one size doesn't fit all. You know, that in real estate, the way I do business is going to be different than Colin versus Brenda versus Yvonne versus Josh. So one size just does not fit all, and they need help where they need help. For those of you that are really focused on marketing, I highly recommend a gal named Wendy Luntz, L-U-N-T, I believe. She used to be with WFG, and now she's with, it's either called East Coast or West Coast. But she does phenomenal marketing classes. She's oftentimes on the John L. Scott training or on the Renton John L. Scott training calendar, but you can follow her and she is pretty brilliant when it comes to real estate marketing. All right, so we are now at assistant to real estate broker job duties, okay? There's a few reasons why I include this on here. And part of it is just kind of the exercise we went through where it's, you know, it's not one size fits all. And another is really about standard. So answering phones in a welcoming and professional manner. This is huge, and I know it doesn't seem that huge, but think about when you walk into a place of business. And nobody really likes to go to the dentist, I don't think. But if you walk in and the receptionist is like, hi, how are you doing? They're like instantly you just feel a little better. And people that are buying or selling or thinking about buying or selling, they're usually pretty stressed. Even if the buy and the sell is a good thing and it's good for their life and their family, it's still very overwhelming. If you've ever bought or sold a house, it's very overwhelming. So if our little role in that can be just to make them feel this much at ease, same type of thing in an email. How do you make people feel? And think about your broker. How does your broker make people feel? Colin Wynn is like the most lovable guy in the world. I mean, you just can't help but love. Josh Hall, the same type of thing. He's just like, oh, he's so nice. Yvonne is amazing. Like, all the brokers are great. I'm super biased. But you're an extension of them. So you have to make people feel in a similar way. Documents and processing voicemails, incoming emails. The littlest things with emails make the biggest difference. I'm a firm believer, and I've been saying this for years. You can say anything you want with the right tone of voice and the right facial expression. I can get my way and negotiate through anything and kind of be a bee about it. But I have a happy tone of voice mild, so when you're responding to an email, say, I hope you're having a good day, and then get to business. When you sign off, don't put your name, put have a great day, warmest regards, something fun. I mean, just anything at all to just soften that one little piece. It truly will make a difference. Keep all the files up to date and organized physically and virtually. Perform basic main computer. Go to
Branding.
for the brand. But what does the brand mean?
Consistency.
Consistency. What else? Yeah. If you walk it, and no offense, I don't care where you shop, but is it a different experience to walk into Walmart versus Nordstrom's? And that's a brand. Walmart's not bad. It's very, very low price, but you pay a different price to get that low price. Nordstrom's is an experience. Starbucks is an experience. Everybody's friendly. The coffee pretty much always tastes the same. And if you don't like their coffee, you can bring it back and they'll smile. Okay, yeah, sure, we'll switch it out. So when it comes to your broker's brand, all of that matters. When you're doing mailers, I make my kids do my mailers now. Been waiting for this day. But I will not allow them to fold the paper, and I will not allow them to put the label on the envelope. Because if the label is crooked, that's my brand. So when someone opens it, I want it to be as nice as possible. I want my grammar to be good. I want the spelling to be good. I want it to be a little catch their attention. Because if they want me to market their home, I want them to see what my standard is. So all those little things that brokers are a little nuts about, that's why. That's why we're nuts. Organizing and prioritizing incoming mail or email. If you can get your broker to give up their email, that is a huge accomplishment. Don't feel bad if they don't, because we're very attached to our email. But that's huge for them. Internal forms are up to date. So if your broker doesn't have listing presentations and things like that ready to go, offer to do that. Hey, do you want me to get some presentation material together for you? So when you have an appointment, we can put the market analysis in and you can just up and go. Anything like that that makes things flow, that makes it more like a system, makes a difference. Compose correspondence, scan, fax, copy, things as needed. Marketing. So Renton, and if anyone at Kent wants it, we have an annual marketing calendar. Marketing is usually one of the biggest hurdles for brokers. It is our kryptonite because we just can't think that far ahead, and you have to be so planned and so organized. So when the time is right, broker, is your database receiving consistent mailings? If they have a farm, how consistent are the mailings? How can you help with that? Give them ideas. Make a 3-month plan for them. Hey broker, it's December. Let's talk about our January, February, and March mailers, and we'll just do it for you. Make sure they approve the piece. But anything like that that can move the needle for them, they will love. Umbrella graphics, business suites, bear printing is also another. When a broker puts their home on the market, a home on the market, they should receive an email within about 10 to 20 minutes that says, hey broker, do you want to send out 50 just listed postcards? And they can hit yes or no. And it's about $33, and it's done like that with the push of a button. When the property goes to pending, which means they've accepted an offer, they'll get another email. Do you want to send out 50 just pending postcards with the push of a button? So they can hit the same 50 people 3 times for just a hair more than $100. There are things like that in the business that, again, just streamline the process. Daily updates for social media. If people, do people still blog?
Only I think recipes.
If they blog, keep it up to date, but yeah, I think blogging's out. Ensure marketing portals are kept up to date with current listings, MLS, all that. Quarterly promotional items, yearly calendars. Again, these are just ideas. Market reports, prepare and mail annual client CMAs. This is one of the most important things a broker can do, in my opinion. It takes a while to do. I tell brokers to do them in a bite-sized pieces at a time. Meaning, let's say you have 200 people in your database, maybe we do 3 a week. Because depending on your experience level, there has to be a market analysis, a very, very brief market analysis. is done, you take that class. Cloud CMA is just a really beautiful presentation. So a market analysis is basically showing a seller comparable homes so we can determine a price for their home. So you can go to the MLS, and here's a trick. If once you do it once, it's easy every time after. So let's say we're talking, Josh probably has way more than 200 people in his database.
Just a couple.
But, well, he has a huge farm also.
Yes, he does.
But let's just say we have 200 people and we're like, okay, so we'll start with, A, and we have Anna and Bob Leach. Well, you go into the MLS, you put a brief CMA, the criteria in, and then you save it under Anna and Bob's CMA. Well, now it's saved forever. So next year, when you do it, you just gotta hit that button, bam. Now you might have to make some tweaks, but it's there. And then you get, let's say your 5 MLS numbers, and you go to Cloud CMA, and all you gotta do is type the numbers in, and bam, you have a presentation. Once you get a roll going, depending on how hard the CMA is, you can probably get one done in, 10 minutes. So that's huge for brokers to do. We call them equity updates. If you have a financial planner, your financial planner sends you information quarterly telling you where you are with your stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Well, why doesn't a broker do that with their house? So, I think it's a brilliant, easy piece, but it takes time. Prepare farming campaigns, okay? Josh Hall has one of the most successful farms in the entire company. A farm is basically where you're going after a neighborhood. So my database is all the people in my world that know me. A farm is, I am now, like Josh is Lakeland Hills, and his goal is for everyone in Lakeland Hills to call him when they want to buy or sell a house. And a farm costs a lot of money, and it takes a great deal of time and energy, but the payoff can be great, but it takes about a year. So if your broker wants to do a farm, there's a way to go about it, but they have to really understand A through Z with the farm. Prepare and maintain all your sphere campaigns. That's your sphere of influence. Use our office marketing programs. They're really great for flyers, postcards, letters, feature cards. Renton, we have a big board in the back to show you samples, but really utilize that. It'll make your job easier. If you want to create your own, Canva. Canva is brilliant. So hopefully everyone knows about that. Expired, FSBOs, that type of thing. Then we move on to a CRM. So a CRM is a client relationship management system, okay? A lot of people just use Outlook. Some people are top producer, constant contact, contactually, Lionsys. There are all kinds of them. I do not care who you use, what you use, but your broker should have some kind of CRM to track their people. One of the broker's biggest problems is if they have a database, which if you're on a team, they have a database. How do they add new people to it? So, have y'all ever heard of Jot Form? So Jot Form, it always takes me a minute. Give me 1 second.
JOT.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's free. So when I took over the office, well, probably even before, I sat down with all the staff, and I'm like, "What do you like about your job? What don't you like? What's frustrating to you?" And they said, "Well, Shy, when you hire people, we don't have all the information." And I'm like, "Okay, let's fix that, because I am not great at getting them the information right away." So for free, we created an app. I love this app. Right now. Give me 1 second, and if I can't find it, I'll just grab it. So many apps these days.
You can always like go down and just type it in.
Yeah, I can't remember what we named it though.
Oh.
But anyways, Sadie would know. But anyway, Sadie created this app, and basically what it does is it has the drop down menu and everything, only the bare minimum. So when I hire somebody, it says their name, and then there's a drop down menu, like we created it. Are they new or experienced? What's their birthday? What's their email? Do they have a desk or not? So it was really like the 5 questions she needs from me. And when I make a hire, I pull it up. And so brokers can do the same type of things with leads or people they want to add to their database. So you can create this, put it on their phone, and then you have a system. So once they fill this 5-point question out, then you know, okay, I received it in my email. That triggers me to then put it in the CRM under what category. If it's Josh, for example, is it a sphere? Is it a past client? Is it a farm? And then you start the process. Brokers will eat stuff like that up. They'll love it. Address personal notes daily for brokers. For those of you doing marketing, does your broker have a birthday campaign? Birthday campaigns are huge. And believe it or not, the phone call is the best. Because think about it, who calls you on your birthday? Your mom, good old mom. You get all kinds of text messages, get all kinds of Facebook messages. Have the broker call. If the broker doesn't want to call, send a card. I love it every year. My kid's dentist sends a card every single year. And every year I'm like, that dentist just didn't miss a beat. And I still drive to that stupid dentist because he sends this card every year. But it can be easy. So when I transitioned into management, I've worked here for many years and I've never got a birthday card or anniversary card. So Sadie and I was like, I want to do this. Some of our brokers have been here for over 25 years. So every month at the beginning of the month, Sadie puts a stack of cards on my desk and I sign them and I have 2 days to do it and I give them back to her and then voila, she makes it happen. So that's very easy for you to do and get a system in place. Anniversaries too. People, if you remember the anniversary for when they bought their house, that's huge.
I think that's one of the things that Josh does with a house anniversary.
Yeah.
And sends that out, which is sweet.
It is. It is so nice. And the bottom line is brokers need to be kept top of mind. And it's not about us always going after the client that bought the house. It's about anytime they hear real estate, they're like, oh, you've got to call Josh Hall. He's so great. And that's how the referral business stays so strong. A lot of people before COVID were doing housewarming parties. So that's a great thing to do. Client appreciation events. This is coming back now. It will come back stronger after hopefully COVID subsides, but help them with client appreciation events. Not only does the event have to be great, you have to promote it. So Christina, when we have a company meeting here or any kind of event, how many times do you hear from us about that event that's going to happen?
Every couple days.
Like, I'm a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I am. But it's how do I maximize the number of people? Any kind of meetings. Brokers should have, if there's any kind of meetings with clients, like something that's really silly and cheap, but people love is personalized water bottle labels. When clients come in and you offer them water and it has a Josh Hall label around it, and you can literally do it for a couple dollars. It's also big at open houses. Just all those little things add up to the experience the client gets. Listing management. Prepare CMAs for properties, okay? If we talk about any of these things and you don't know how to do it or you're not comfortable, go to our online training calendar or our paper calendar, and I pretty much guarantee we'll have a class with about it. So if you want to sharpen your skills with CMAs, come to the seller class. Prepare pre-listing packets for agents, or like we talked about, make sure their presentation pieces are up to date. And, you know, like now, a lot of old school brokers, they might need a piece about COVID, how we're going to keep the home safe, if the people are elderly, if there's any kind of health conditions, maybe they have small kids. You know, brokers sometimes might need friendly reminders about that. Make sure the listing appointment paperwork is completed. If you're doing transaction management, even if you're not a contract expert, go through and make sure every spot is initial and dated. Create a listing file, complete checklist. Who here is working from checklists? So your broker will love you to pieces if you create and continue to improve on checklists. Sky slope. If you're doing sky slope, the rule is it's supposed to be turned in within 2 days of signature. Add new clients for database, set up showing feedback for the broker, set up running searches in the MLS, prepare weekly updates for clients. That's huge for brokers. Any feedback, number of hits on the website, anything along those lines. New orientation for buyers. Prepare the client buyer presentation or notebook or whatever tangible item you give them. Make sure it's personalized, okay? People, again, want to feel like this is their personal experience, their personal home buying journey. And put the new client information into the database. Prepare a follow-up thank you note. If your broker's not doing some kind of handwritten notes, help them do that. It's okay. You could write it. Sadie will come in at the tail end of the class and talk about the John L. Scott tools. Now realize, brokers, we don't always love change. Some of us are better than others. For example, you'll learn about buy side. Buy side is probably the best John L. Scott tool we have. Josh thrives at buy side. Josh adopted this technology. He loves it, and it's really been used to his advantage. In July, the Renton office did 14 million in inventory just on this one site. So if your agent isn't aware of it, go take a class, learn about it, but learn also how to adopt it into their business. And again, it might take them a minute to get comfortable, but no, that's just the process. Transaction management. And we're going to go through a whole transaction management piece, but make sure that the details are being hit. All the signatures are there. All you have to do is count. If there's 3 signatures on the first page and then things are crossed off and initialed, make sure anytime you see initials or signatures that there's 3 or 4 or 5 or however many there's supposed to be. Earnest money. Make sure that just because a courier picks it up, make sure escrow received it. It's all these little details that the broker wants to do but doesn't have time to do. So you're really creating your value. Help buyers schedule inspections, septic inspections. Make sure deadlines are being communicated. Any additional paperwork that might be signed afterwards will then need to go into SkySlope. Coordinate with the lender, with escrow. Help with the key exchange. If your client needs help with a client gift or something along those lines. Business management, business expenses. Brokers don't do well at this. At least I don't. If you know a system, help them adopt that system. Business receipts, employee timesheets, binders, and related communication. We have a skeleton of an operations manual. So adopt the operations manual and make it the Josh Hall operations manual, the Yvonne Branks operations manual. That will be a game changer for your broker. The biggest part, I should probably get my corresponding pages here. The biggest part of a broker assistant or ops manager is to free up the broker to be out with clients. So that's huge, okay? Now, again, whatever your job description is, it has to be in alignment with what the broker wants. All right, we have 2 more pieces and then Sadie's coming in. Any questions so far? You quiet people?
I'm not normally super quiet.
Me neither. I know it's hard to believe. All right, I loved the project group. A few years ago, Saul, the former owner of the company, brought a gentleman in named Matt James. And Matt James was a team trainer. And what often happens with brokers, and there's no ill intention, it just happens. So a broker will come from a seminar or they'll talk to a friend and they're like, oh, I want to do blah, blah, blah. And then you take it and you run with it. And then you get to the end and you're like, here, I did it. And then they're like, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I wanted. I want it this way. I want it that way. Well, now that's creating friction. So I love the project loop because it creates steps for any type of projects that need to get done. Now, this isn't about day-to-day work, but this is, I want to change my CRM. I want some kind of project. I want the client event. And I highly encourage you to take this piece, you can blow it up, you can put it on the wall, and everyone can be a part of it. So then work is not being repeated and time is not being wasted. So when there's a new project, whose job is what? Okay, now more than likely, it's going to be your job. The deadline, when do you want it to be done? Because brokers oftentimes want things done yesterday, but they forget about it tomorrow. What's the ideal outcome? How will we know it was done well enough? Cost, time, money, and energy. It's okay to say, hey, broker, about how much time do you want me to spend on this? Because in your head, it might be something that's huge and like a 30-hour project, and they might be thinking it should take 2 hours. So it's okay to just say, how much time do you want me to spend? And if they say 2 hours, then you might need to kind of say, okay, well, then I think I'm misunderstanding. Because in my head, it looks like this, and it would take 30 hours. So maybe there's a misunderstanding that I'm not seeing. And resources, what do we need to have to finish? Okay, so just step number 1 to me is brilliant, because when you have clarity with your lead broker, that makes all the difference in the world. Input, new concepts and material, training, mindset, skill set, technology. Where is that? And then action. Now you're going to do it. Now you're going to start your execution. Then you pause. Number 4. Let's pause and talk to the broker about where I'm at. What was done? How long is it really taking? How much is it really costing? And what am I missing? And then you can regroup. So you're not going all the way to the finish line and finding out you have to start back at mile 1. And then you get the feedback from the broker. Is this done? What else? What's next? Is it good? What do you want changed? And then you evaluate what was learned. Oftentimes when you go through processes like this, it will help you identify systems that you may need. And then to reinforce, extend, or abort. You modify, you continue, you stop. Is it a red light? Is it a green light? This visual really helps brokers because we think y'all are brilliant. And like you guys talking about social media. I hate social media. Put me in front of a person and I'll get anything I want. But I don't want to type it on a screen and post it. Did I say it right? And, you know, so it's just our brains think different. And we get really, really excited about things and lots of things. So this visual is good to slow a broker down. Say, okay, we're going to put our resources to where it matters. The other part of the training loop, and this really comes into play more so when brokers come back from seminars and we have 400 ideas, is focus on 3 rocks. And that basically means brokers are like, I want to do this and this, and awesome, great, create a project list. And then we're going to focus on 3, only 3 at a time. And that keeps everyone from being overwhelmed. And that keeps the broker from like, oh, squirrel, like, oh, I wanted a CRM, but ooh, now I found a marketing piece. And, you know, we see a lot of squirrels. I mean, so it really helps just to help simplify it because they don't know. We're just very excitable people. Questions, comments, thoughts?
I think this is a really helpful visual for me. I'm super visual. I really like that the number 1, just everything that's included in that, because it really lays that groundwork of what are we actually doing.
And what it does also in time is it helps the broker think a little bit before we're just like, blah, 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 I want to do all these things. It helps slows them in their track to say, okay, what do we want to achieve? How much money? How much time? You know, and sometimes they have to be slowed down a little bit to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I mean, I do that too with Colin all the time. Like he has an idea and I'm like, hey, let's talk about it really quick. And then like you spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about it and then you realize it's not a good idea. And so instead of wasting all the hours like doing it, it's like, we could have just done this and that was the solution. So it's good to get all the details and then realize why waste the time or the money? I mean, there's a different option.
Absolutely.
I'm super project oriented and I'm very excitable and I have like 4,000 ideas. So I feel like for me, this is really good to go with myself. Like,
Yeah, they'll crush your ideas.
In a very nice way.
Yeah, you're getting so good. Are you so happy? They're like, I mean, sure. No.
Yeah, he does sometimes. But, and I'm that way. I'm very excitable. You know, I love my staff. And so like every year at Christmas, I would take the last 2 weeks of the year off. And every year I make Shy's wish list for the next year. And then I meet with them and I find out their goals and I share with them my goals because I want everybody to be on the same page. And sometimes they'll come to me with ideas that I'm like, but let's think about it. Let's talk about it. I want them to feel valued, but I also, I'm the one that's going to be the decision maker when it comes time to move forward. All right, last with me is we are talking about, we're just gonna briefly go through contract to close for a transaction, okay? So what happens is a buyer will make an offer on a property, okay? That offer doesn't mean anything until it's fully signed around, okay? You'll hear the phrase counter offer, which means one party made a change to the contract, and again, it's meaningless until the other party agrees. Now, once all the parties agree, we call it mutual acceptance. And I always like do this with my hands because you're pretty much tied now. Buyer and sellers are tied to the contract once it's mutual acceptance. So once you get, after the counteroffer and the negotiation and all of that, and you reach mutual acceptance, then the status is under contract or pending inspection, okay? Now, pending inspection means that the buyer is going to have a home inspection, and that's a contingency. Now, a contingency is a safety net, okay? And a safety net says if the buyer has a home inspection and they're not happy with it, they get to walk away and keep their earnest money. Does everyone know what earnest money is? Okay.
It's basically like a good faith payment,
Yes.
saying I'm super interested in this property. I'm gonna put some money down on it to show you my interest in the property.
It's my promise not to breach the contract.
Otherwise you lose it.
Otherwise, you lose it.
Okay.
Which is not as common as people think.
Yeah.
But there's going to be lots of contingencies, which basically means a way out.
Mhm.
So if a buyer has a legal way out, they keep the earnest money. So now the home is pending inspection. The buyer performs the inspection, and then the next step is negotiating repairs, okay? And really three main things can happen. The buyer says, yes, seller, I want to proceed forward and buy the house and close. No, I don't want to buy the house. The roof's falling off. Or I want these things repaired, or I'm going to renegotiate the price. Now buyer sends that to seller, and then seller gets to respond. And seller says, no, I won't give you 5,000 off the price, but I'll give you 2,500. Or no, I won't repair A, B, and C, but I will repair X, Y, and Z. So after the seller responds, it goes back to the buyer one more time. It does not keep going back and forth. Buyer has an initial response, seller responds, buyer gets a final response. And the buyer can say, yes, it'll work, no, it won't, or they can have 3 days to work something else out. There's a term used in real estate called waive. So you have a contingency, which is your safety net. And as long as you follow all the rules of your safety net, if you walk away, you get your earnest money. But if you fumble your safety net, it's called a waive. So if the broker misses a deadline for the buyer, when it comes to their inspection, they can accidentally waive it. And that's a big, big deal because now that means the buyer has to buy the house no matter what. The other thing that you should know, even if you're just dabbling into transaction management, do not ever, ever send the inspection report. If you represent the buyer, Don't ever send it to the seller. Unless your broker is holding your hand saying, please send this inspection report. Don't ever, ever do it. Even if the other broker asks you to do it, you check with your broker first. That's a fairly new rule. But if you send it and you're not supposed to, you have waived the inspection contingents, the safety net. So it's a big deal. Questions so far? So if buyer and seller do not come to an agreement, the home goes back on the market. If they do come to an agreement, you are now pending. Okay, remember before we were pending inspection? Well, once you're pending, that means the inspection is taken care of. Now, the next big piece after pending is the appraisal. There's a huge difference between an inspection and an appraisal, okay? An inspection is for the buyer to have a licensed and bonded inspector for themselves come and inspect the home. It generally takes 2 to 3 hours. They inspect every little nook and cranny of this house. They will turn the bathtub on, turn the bathroom sink on, and flush the toilet to test the water pressure. Very, very thorough. The appraisal is actually for the bank. And the bank basically says, hey, buyer, you're gonna buy this $500,000 house, and you're putting $100,000 down. But if I'm gonna loan you $400,000 for this house, I need to make sure, A, the value is good, and I need to make sure that the condition is good. So an appraiser goes into the house and literally usually takes about 15 minutes. And they do research and they pull comparable properties. And then they go through and make sure the condition of the home is good. And again, this is for the buyer's lender who's granting the loan. Any questions so far? Does anybody online have questions? Take that as a no. All right. So after the inspection piece is over, there's really not a whole lot a broker can do except oversee everything. And that is our job. Our job is to make sure everyone else is doing their job, because we are high-paid problem solvers. And when there's a problem, we have to jump in and fix it. It's just what we do. So at this phase, we're beyond the inspection, we're beyond the appraisal, and now everything else is coming together. So now there's title and escrow, okay? Title on a house is kind of the history. It's a little bit like the title to your car. If there are tax liens on a property, if someone owes anything, that's what's called a lienable item, which means I owe the IRS money, and so they put a lien on my house, which says I can't sell my house until this is paid off, and if I do sell my house, they have to get paid off in the process. Title will also show any kind of easements or encroachments. So if there's a shared driveway, if something is encroaching on your property and it shouldn't be there, but it just has always been. CC&Rs, any kind of restrictions in the community. You can only paint your house these 5 colors. You can't have RVs parked here. Any kind of CC&Rs. Escrow, we're an escrow state. Some other states are not, and you have to have an attorney to close the deal. Escrow is a non-biased party. They don't have any representation with buyer or seller. And they basically, at the end, are working up all the documents and they're saying, okay, buyer's buying the house, we gotta get the buyer set up, we gotta get the buyer's money, make sure it gets to the seller. Seller, we're gonna take your house and put it in the buyer's name, and they make sure that whole process goes smoothly. Loan documents, okay? So we have buyer and seller, we have buyer broker and listing broker, we have title and escrow, and then we have the lender who's supplying the loan. So as you go through the process of closing, which roughly takes about 30 days, okay? So we get to mutual acceptance, we get through the hurdle of the inspection, we get through the hurdle of the appraisal. Now we need the loan to go through. Now, most contracts have what's called a financing contingency, which is very similar to an inspection contingency. It provides that safety net. But a financing contingency says, I'm a buyer, and if I do everything I can to get my loan, okay, I put good faith effort, and I can't get my loan, I get to walk away with my earnest money. If I lose my job, or I get in a car accident, I can't perform, or something along those lines, it provides a safety net. But for us to get to the finish line, a big step is loan documents. Once the lender says, okay, through a final approval buyer, we're good to go, there's 2 steps, which one is so new it hasn't been updated. But the loan documents go from the lender to escrow. Remember, escrow helps everybody sign the final paperwork. And then you might want to take a note on here. The closing disclosure statement has to be signed.
Like the settlement scheme?
So the lender, it's similar to it, but it comes from the lender, not escrow. But a lender requires that a closing disclosure statement has to be signed 3 days prior to closing. If the closing disclosure statement was only issued 2 days and we're closing today, you're not closing.
Do they sign that at closing or like who, when do they sign?
The lender usually emails it off to the buyer. And usually we don't know anything about it, but I ask every closing.
It was like, hey, don't know.
This is a new one, newer. But so when we're getting down to like a week before closing, I always say, hey, lender, what outstanding conditions are there? Does the buyer have to give a new, or does the lender have to approve a new employment verification? This came about because of COVID. They used to verify employment in the beginning. Well, now they verify it in the end because so many people were getting laid off. When do we expect full loan approval? Because that means loan documents are coming. And when will the closing disclosure statement be signed? So those are my 3 questions that I ask frequently up until closing. Once the documents are drawn and the closing disclosure statement has been signed by the buyer, documents go to escrow. And what happens with escrow, a lot of clients think they sign on the day they close. And that's just not accurate. Sometimes that happens and none of us like it. We like it a day or 2 ahead of time. We need to breathe. Buyer goes in, they sign all their closing papers, seller signs all their closing papers. Closing, the actual definition of closing is there's 2 parts, okay? Number 1 is the funds are released or received. So basically, the lender says, hey, escrow, here's the money from the loan for the buyer. And escrow takes the money and they pay the seller's mortgage and any outstanding bills or leases, and then they give the rest of the money to the seller. Okay, this is all done through wires. The second step is county recording numbers. Okay, So the funds being released is the huge step. That is 95% of everything. The county recording numbers has to happen, but it's one of those things that it's a formality. There have been a few times that recording numbers haven't happened, but it's usually because there's a power outage. I remember the county closed down, what was that? A little more than a month ago when there was that big heat wave. During the really rough times of COVID, the county, when they were working remotely, they were a little behind on recording numbers. But I mean, literally, once the funds are released, it is 99.8% done. Okay, so I just want to open it up to any questions. It can pertain to anything we talked about or just anything else. And then after we do a little Q&A, if there's any, Sadie is going to come in and talk to you and give you a little rundown of the John L. Scott tools. So any questions just in general about anything to do with the office, the position, thoughts, ideas, anything like that at all?
Do you offer additional assistant classes? I know you mentioned like some of the other types of classes that you could take, but I'm not sure if I missed that part, if there was additional.
Sure. So generally this class, I usually just give when needed.
Okay.
And again, because we have a bit of a group of newer hires, we will more than likely in the next, let's say October-ish, maybe put together a mastermind group of assistants where it's a little bit more of sharing with one another of tips and tricks and things like that. But we do offer a ton of classes. So if you talk to your team leader or somebody on the leadership team and say, this is what I want to accomplish, what classes should I attend? Because even if it's new broker training, we have a whole class on transaction management. We have a whole class on sellers and doing CMAs or buyers and buyer presentations. So it might not be called an assistant class, but it can definitely be used for what you're looking for.
Okay.
Depending on what that is.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thanks.
Any other questions, thoughts, ideas? We'll get used to talking more because we're talkers in this industry.
Mhm.
But yeah, always feel free to go talk to your team leaders or your managers if you have questions or thoughts or ideas, or even if you have class ideas. I am super open to new class ideas. If people are like, hey, we should do something about this. But yeah, it's you know, we're definitely collaborators. We love to share. We truly believe in abundance. We truly believe in paying it forward. So if there's something on your team where you're like, oh, we just keep struggling with the same thing, get help. We'd love to jump in and help with that. All right, anything else?
I'm curious about the process to become licensed.
Yeah. Oh, great question.
Because that's been a goal of mine, and I would love to do that over this next, I don't know, 3-4 months or so. I just moved from out of state. I grew up in Washington. I've been in Ohio for the past 19 years, and I just moved back. And so I'd like to be licensed in Washington. Just trying to find out. So I was researching while I was out of state and saw like different companies that offer classes and things like that. What kind of is the best way to go about that here?
Were you licensed in Ohio?
I was for 1 year, like back in 2007, right when everything tanked.
Okay, but you didn't have an active license.
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, so it'd be essentially getting a new license.
Perfect. So the best place to get your license is Rockwell.
Okay. Is that
Rockwell
a school?
It is a school.
Okay.
So I don't know about Kent North for sure, but I'm pretty sure. But Renton, for sure, we are considered satellite schools, which means you get $100 off. So there's two ways to go about getting your license. Number one is you can go do the in-person class.
Okay.
I believe it's 2 weeks. Most people do not do the in-person class, and most brokers don't want you to do the in-person class because it's hard to lose a team member for 2 full weeks. But you can do it online. Full price is $489. If you sign up through our office, it's $389. And it's 90 online hours. Once you do those online hours, and here's my best advice, breeze through as fast as you can. Getting your license will teach you nothing about selling real estate. I hate to say it, but it's just true. You'll learn a few tidbits on earnest money, but I promise you, you'll never have to know how many square feet are in an acre. I mean, we got phones, we have calculators. I bet they have not updated their material in many, many years. So breeze through it. And then what happens is there's an online final exam. I think it's 70% that you have to get. It's a pretty low number. Is it 70? But then where you should spend all your time is the cram courses. And that's what I love about Rockwell, because after you pass, you do your 90 hours, and most of them is not time. So like I got my license the month I turned 18. I could not wait to register to vote and get my license. And I literally had to go to the Old Kent North office. Didn't even have a cell phone then. And I put my pager on a 9-minute timer. And I'd go up there all night and I with a blanket and I'd sleep. And every 9 minutes I'd wake up and press the button. So my clock kept ticking. It's a little bit different now. You can do it at home. But I don't even think they have a clock ticking. But I think you can only do 8 hours a day technically. And then you just put your log in your hours. So once you do the hours, breeze through them as fast as you can. Like I'd have 2 computers and I just keep one on. But spend all of your time studying the cram courses. And they'll give you practice exams. And once you start scoring 80% over and over on those practice exams, then you go take your state exam.
So it's that crank, like, because I don't know, I just started and I was kind of like flying through and I was like, I have to hit 90 hours. Like, does that cram course, like, if I just kept taking that over and over and over again, would that count towards that 90 hours, or is it?
No, because once you pass the final test, and you remember like back in elementary school, it was like a chapter exam and a unit exam or a test. It's just like that. But once you pass the final, your hours have stopped.
Okay.
So it is good to take like breaks and let the, like, because you're only allowed to be on each slide for 15 minutes max. So is it kind of good that every once in a while just to stop and let one sit for like 10 minutes or so?
Yeah. Is it timing you? Is there a clock?
I think there's like a log that you can like look
That
and
you
see how
fill out.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also receive books.
Hmm.
So part of your 90 hours is reading the books.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I did my managing brokers exam, which is very different, it's a whole different beast. There was only one section, there's 3 sections in the manager's exam, and only one is similar to like when you're getting your broker license. And I was at an open house, and the other 2 parts is you're supposed to read a book and do the exam. And I'm at an open house, and I'm like, well, let's just see what I know. And I got an A. And I did the whole thing at an open house, like the whole second part of the clock hours. So you just have to go through it, but it's not, as long as you're passing the test, you have to know enough to pass the test. but it's not rocket science.
Mhm.
Your state exam is a little more strict. They're very strict on, you can't bring a purse. Christina could not wear that coat. Like you could wear this sweater, but they're afraid of people cheating, or I think there was a little run of people taking exams for other people.
Mm.
And then once you pass the test, then you're licensed, and then you hang the license at the firm. You just want to make sure that you and your broker are in alignment about your license, because there's cost associated with being licensed. Yeah, that's pretty much the process.
Okay. So it's, if I do it through it's either 389 or 489. And then is there a cost then to do the exam, the state exam?
146, I believe.
Okay.
There's a few costs. So 389, just because don't go directly to Rockville, you get the exact same thing if you sign up with us. I believe it's 146 to do the state exam. And then once you pass, you have to get your fingerprints, and that's about $42.
Okay.
And then once you hang your license at a firm, that is, I believe, 140.
Is that just a one-time or is that a yearly?
That's a one-time for the Department of Licensing.
Okay.
And then you have Board of Realtors, and Board of Realtors is the big one.
Mhm.
Board of Realtors is $650 a year, plus a one-time $100 sign. And that $650 is prorated.
Okay.
So again, that's your biggest expense with being licensed. So you want to make sure your broker's in alignment, that you're going to use your license.
Mhm.
If you're not showing homes and writing contracts and advising clients, got a whole lot of reason to get licensed.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure you're utilizing that
And
for
then
the
MLS
expense.
has a fee too, right? Or-
Yeah, but you have that even if you're not licensed.
Oh, true.
So-
Nothing, or if you show homes and you need like the Supra.
Yeah, the Supra, so if you get licensed and you're gonna show homes, your E-key is a one-time $50 charge.
That's to get into the Bluetooth key.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then 13 a month.
Okay.
Any other questions before I grab Sadie? Anything at all? Like, now's your chance.
Are we doing the general side options?
No.
No.
So every year we have the best golf tournament ever. And 90% of us can't golf to save our lives. But it
Perfect, I
is,
wouldn't feel bad then.
I actually went and got golf lessons after our very first tournament.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. And it's usually a costume theme.
Mm.
And it is a blast. It's, in my opinion, one of our two most fun events of the year. But it takes 3 to 4 months to plan. And we usually have it in August, September. But to start planning at that time, we were still shut down. So no. Our next event may be September 9th. I highly encourage everyone to go. In a perfect world, it will be our first big in-person event. If you hear office meeting, that's going to be a Renton thing or a Kent thing. If you hear company, it's Renton and Kent together. And this would be a company event, but we don't know how COVID regulations and stuff are going to be. But this event will be on creating wealth. And we are, in my opinion, why we are the best companies is because we're so much more than real estate. Like you'll go to different companies, they teach how to sell real estate. We want to teach people how to build a business. We want to teach people how to create wealth. I'm a firm believer in rental properties. I love investment properties. A lot of us have properties we rent, a few of us split. But Thatch Lynn, who is just like a goat in the real estate industry, baller, he's gonna be talking about creating wealth. And then we'll have a financial planner come in because there's this new long-term insurance coverage that's coming up, I think in October. So we always try to stay a little bit ahead of the game with that. But it's just, we try to elevate the conversation much more than real estate. So September 9th, more information will be coming out about it. But usually we plan everything to the T, but we don't know if there's going to be a limitation on a gathering in person. Our mask mandates coming back. They just hit Snohomish County. So we're just all still trying to maneuver that. But hopefully next year the golf tournament's coming back because it is a blast.
Do you know if within that type of category, if they talk about different lending options?
Probably not.
Okay.
Just because we don't have any lenders speaking. And again, it's like real estate. It's not one size fits all.
Right.
So like I would definitely be considered on the very conservative side of as an investor. I have 10 units, but I've saved my money for the down payment. I never took equity out of one property. Now, a lot of these other people would tell me that was a big mistake. And with interest rates low, take your equity out. And I'm like, oh no. I'm slow and steady and want to pay everything off and, you know, not work until I'm 70. But then there are other people that do it different ways. But the bottom line is if you've never owned a rental property, generally you have to have 20% down. If it's your first investment property. I mean, in general, you usually have to have 20% down. Yeah. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna get Sadie in here. Miss Sadie, we're ready for you. Okay. All right, so Sadie is going to talk about utilizing the office tools. So again, Renton and Kent, when we were a franchise office, we were owned by the same owner. We're like sister offices, but there could be some differences. So if you are a Kent North broker and there's something you really like that we're talking about, you can go talk to Simona or Amy, and they'll help you navigate that. Because their system, there just might be a little tweak here or there. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, as always, if you ever need anything or have questions, you guys know where to find me. Feel free to reach out anytime. And then Sadie will be in to talk about John L. Scott tools and how you can help your broker utilize those. Where's the rest of you here? Show you.
Thanks,
Here's
guys.
Sadie. What's happening? You're welcome. Just let me know if you need anything. You want to do a bathroom break for everybody?
I was gonna go grab water.
Water bathroom break. Sorry. We'll reach over.
Did we just get them? No, this is the class I've been trying to get you this week. So I'm
Why
talking
have
about
I never known this? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Love that.
I will talk all things,
Okay.
everything.
I'm glad you did it with this.
Me
I've been, like,
too.
trying to do it and I was just like creative.
Might as well class with
Yeah.
Someone's been typing in the chat.
Oh, good to know.
I don't know what they're saying.
I will keep an eye on chat and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, for those of you on Zoom, can you guys all see my shared presentation? Might not get a response. Oh, come on. Chat. Ah. Yeah, okay, thank you. Minimize that, and I will keep an eye on chat, and then I have little question breaks throughout the presentation, and I'll make sure I look at that there as well. So I'm Sadie. I am the lead broker service representative at our Renton office, kind of just like everything. So I run the front desk, I do the marketing, the social media, onboarding. So when your bosses joined your bosses, Renton, joined our office, I signed them onto the office, and I also sign on the assistants and everything like that to make sure that they're squared away with everything here. So this is a class I teach every month, and I'm just going to basically go over what tools are available at Renton and Kent. Check with your staff at Kent, just to double check, because a couple of the things that we do here is a tad bit different, but it's more like buying books and stuff like that. Nothing super out of the ordinary. But I'll just get started. And click a button. So a couple of the things that we're going to be talking about today, and I apologize, Evan, I just walked him through all of this. 5 new things I just added, so it won't be too boring. So here at the Renton office and Kent, you guys have free programs. So your brokers get free mailers. We have something called a 125 program. I'm not sure about their social media, just because you guys have now Maddie, and she just joined as your marketing coordinator over there. You guys do get home warranties. And then here at our office, I do believe at Kent, we have an online marketing program. We'll talk a little bit about custom projects. And then at both offices, your front desk staff can help with the heavy lifting, which will be significantly better for assistance on database stuff, because you're learning everything, you're learning what your boss is doing, you have to take your classes, now you're here, and you're like, oh my God, there's all this stuff going on. Let the front desk help with the heavy lifting on some stuff, which I'll talk about today. And then I have some coming soon items. So the magic number in both offices is 125. So every free program that offers anything is the magic number of 125. So in both offices, we have a mailing machine, and we can mail out your brokers and yourselves mailers. It just gets charged their account. But every broker in the office gets a credit of free postage up to 125 pieces of mail, which is equivalent to $63.75 because mail is charged by weight. It's basically just 125 free broker stamps. If you guys ever go over that $63 credit, you just get billed at the end of the month. I send out the bills to the Renton office, and we can talk about that if you ever see it pop up. I'm not sure who does the billing at your office, but just, reach out to them and see how it works. Okay. So including mailing, every broker in the office gets 125 free envelopes, whether it be John L. Scott envelopes or plain envelopes. They get 125 free mailing labels, which is equivalent to 5 labels, and we can help you print those if needed. You also get 125 free letterhead, and then you also get thank you cards. I'm not sure if Kent's got thank you cards. I just met with Amy last week. I think she still has them, but I would double check. But we have thank you cards that you guys can grab, and the small envelopes as well. And then you just come by the front desk, and we'll just grab you your allotment, and then we'll just.
Do you guys have blank thank you cards, or are they all the ones that say John L. Scott?
They're all the ones that say John L. Scott, yeah. It is cheaper to mail out of your office. So a forever stamp going at the post office right now is 55 cents. Here at the office, it's 51 cents. So when you start doing mass mailing, mail it here. I cannot emphasize how much cheaper it is to just do it here. So if you go to the post office right now and do your 125, you're gonna be paying $68. Where here, it's free. So use your mailing. It doesn't matter what it is. Brokers do their bills, their assistants do their, like someone did their wedding invitation. Like it's just there to use. So it's significantly cheaper. So here at the Renton office, we have a social media program. So every listing your broker brings into the office, you get a free social media post. We put it on our Facebook page, our Instagram page. We have a Google account. It goes on Craigslist, you name it. It's there for the social media exposure from everyone that follows us to everyone that follows you, because you get the tag, which links to your account, and then you share it, and then there's thousands of people looking at that. And then we also do everything that you sold, whether it be a listing or it's a purchase. We will do that as well. And then anything you tag us, we will share it on our accounts as well, just to get that exposure. And for like teams and stuff like that, if there's a certain tag you want me to use, so like a broker we were doing his business page, but he has some people on his personal page, so we started tagging that in an Excel spreadsheet that we can change out if needed. As well as open houses. So every Thursday before 4, we will advertise your open houses. So I send out a little email reminder that you can click a link and you can submit your open house online. Again, that goes to Facebook, Google, Instagram, Craigslist. My Weekend Girls advertise it. Just make sure you do it before 4 on Thursdays. Home warranties. So this is for both offices. Every listing that comes into the office, regardless, gets a complimentary home warranty. It's a standard covered plan, up to $280. It's for all appliances or kind of like the hardware of the house. So if you shook a house upside down and everything that came out of it, anything that's the base of the house, like the water heater, the plumbing, the body of the house is covered by this home warranty. It's kind of like a peace of mind coverage during the sale of the house, and it's only during the sale of the house. If you ever guys need, or if your bosses ever go, reach out to your front desk staff. I want a air conditioning plan added onto it. We'll add that. I just need to know in advance before it goes on the market, and then I'll just add that. There is no upfront costs. It just comes out of your commission once closing. Can you do this on every single one?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And not most firms do this, so it's a good listing and buyer.
So like we don't need to say anything, you just automatically.
Just do it. Yeah. Don't forget, I have come to notice that when we came back in July of last year, that not many people remember that we have signs for brokers to use in the office. There you can grab as many or as little as you want at those offices. Renton, we have to grab from Renton. Kent, we have to grab from Kent. But they're all in the workroom, sold strips, pending strips, anything that you need. We still have all of our COVID stuff. Your sellers want to still do one appointment at a time. And then at those offices, we have special weekend kickoff signs. So if it is the first weekend of the house being on the market, we have the special weekend kickoff boards saying that it's the first time on the market, and you can grab those at the front desk. Any questions? Take a look.
$125 is per, like, if it's a team, it's per member, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So he works for Brenda, and then he also works for Jerry and Tina. So for Jerry and Tina, it's still $125.
So if I'm also licensed here and I hold my license, how do I get one?
No, because you're not on commission. When you start paying commission, of course you go to the firm and you can do that.
Actually,
Yeah. I do have to talk to you, so call me MLS. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to Shy about commission. Yeah, cool. Okay, so marketing. So I used to be an assistant back in the day, and one of the struggles that I had being in your shoes was we would get a house on the market and, you know, we'd have the scheduled ready day for, you know, 2 weeks in advance. And the seller, you know, the Thursday, day before Friday would come up and be like, you know what, let's just do it tomorrow. And you're like, crap. I have to do the flyers. I'm not ready. The site installed. There's all this stuff that you have to do. And then you have to do a contract sign, re-sign, all this stuff. The last thing you should be worrying about is marketing. So what I've created at our office is a online program where brokers and assistants, anyone in the office, can order free flyers and brochures and feature cards. There's social media posts, door knockers. If your broker likes to go and do neighborhood door knocking to, you know, advertise an open house that he's doing on a Friday before the weekend. There's postcards. You can label your water bottles for your open houses. You name it. It's all online. It's super easy. This is a small little video of a couple templates that we have on our site of just a single-sided flyer. You just go online and put the information, give us the MLS number. You can add the photos, or we can grab the photos from the MLS. And within 24 hours, we will send you a draft, and we will print and put them in your mailbox for you. It is 100% free. You just pay for the color printing in the office, which is 29 cents a page. And we have cardstock paper, we have glossy paper, we have plain paper. There's no charge difference in both offices. You just submit the form and we'll take care of that for you. And then where to find it. So at the Renton office, at the bottom of every staff signature is our link tree. And then when you click on it, you get the page which is on the left. And then you just go to marketing and you input your order.
How specific can we get with it? Because I know like a lot of this is like John Scott, like can we like do it like the call?
Yeah, so at the bottom of every form is like a special instructions, and then you can like send us your logos. You could be like, hey, you know, we can't. So on the thing, we can't. So we see like those green boxes and stuff. We can't move that stuff around. But if like, you know, you wanted to throw your logo or something like that, or maybe change it to a different color.
Oh,
we can
okay.
definitely do that. Yeah. Custom projects. Not sure too much about the Kent office, but if maybe there's something else that you want, or you know, something's missing, you know, like lately, I don't know if you guys notice this, I talk about it, oh, what? But have you ever been on like Instagram and you're sliding through a photo and it's basically just a long post and the photos kind of overlap? So like a broker came to me and she wanted to do one of the John L. Scott programs, Market Ready, where you can put, John L. Scott will up with the costs of like staging and painting your house and doing all this stuff. And she wanted to make one. So I like made this long Instagram post and just swipe it through. But you know, we can help make stuff from scratch. At the moment, I'm asking for 2 weeks, just with training new front desk staff, but the normal rate is about a week. But yeah, you just submit it, let me know what you want, upload your examples if you like found it on Google, and I'll just make it from scratch. Any questions about marketing? Don't forget, so today's class, I would imagine you all saw it on our training calendar, I hope, or for those of you that are on Zoom, you went to the training calendar online and grabbed your Zoom links. Everything that you need is online. So again, you go to that link tree. Same with Kent. It's just www.jlskms.com/Kent North. Ours is Renton. But yeah, everything that you need is online. All upcoming classes, all upcoming events, anything that you need, you're welcome to join. Everything is free unless otherwise written. I don't really ask for you to pay for really anything, to be completely honest. But yeah, everything is online. Yep, again, the link. Okay, so front desk staff. So one of my goals was to help with the heavy lifting. A big thing now that we're really trying to get teams to do is updating their database, because back in the day, you really didn't have to, and it was, an address book, and now we're trying to get everything online. So everyone's database is in a different place, and it doesn't really matter, to be completely honest, how or where your database is. Shy and your brokers and everyone else might say otherwise, but for us to help with the heavy lifting, there's really no criteria needed. So John L. Scott Housing Updates is a monthly market update in an area that you can send to your clients or your broker's clients. So every month you get, it's the big column with Shy Bundy's face on the left. Every month it's an automated service. So once you plug it into MyDesk, it's set and ready to go unless you take them off. It's between the 1st and the 5th of the month is when we'll get this update. So this is what it kind of looks like. So if you click into it, it leads them to a website that talks about the market, or in your friendly market, it's Lennox's little market update, it talks about interest rates, how long things are staying on the market, all of that fun stuff. But it's a nice program to keep your brokers sending information to their clients and keeping their face and their contact information up into their clients. I'm not saying this right. It's to remind your clients that they're real estate agents basically every month and keep them up to date with what's going on. Because not most people know what's still going on in the market unless they're listening to NPR on their way to work every morning. But all we need to help you set this up is, and this is at both offices, is your client's name and emails, and then what area they want. So if you have their addresses, in an Excel spreadsheet, your brokers keep a database in, which you plug it in based on where they live. But it's a bunch. It's a bunch of stuff. So there's market updates, there's luxury updates, there's seasonal updates. So happy Valentine's Day. You can send your clients holiday messages every holiday. And then there's buyers. There's relocation. So if you've got clients that are out of state, your brokers can possibly get a commission check, a commission by referring out of state to another broker. And then there's hundreds of templates to choose from. But we can help you plug that in to get that automated service going. And then a new cool thing that's coming soon is that you're going to start to be able to campaign to neighborhoods. So if you're farming your database in, Kennydale down the road, you can pick actually an area and then send them that market update every month. Or, if you want to do the Renton Highlands, you can literally on the map, select a certain area, and then you'll be able to just send them that email every month, which is kind of cool. That should be, hopefully, they talked about it last Christmas, and they're like, we're still getting on it, so knock on wood, it should be up and running soon. I saw the button pop up, so we're getting there. Any questions about housing campaigns?
Such as done through MyDesk.
Yeah, it's done through MyDesk. And it's based on the clients that you plug in. So we'll help you plug your clients into MyDesk if they're not already there, and then you just you click through campaigns and you just type in there. I think Brenda was getting onto it. It was just organizing her database.
Yeah, I've been trying to.
Yeah. And I don't want brokers to think that it has to be completely organized before you send us a long list or anything like that. I've got brokers sending me 5 a week. It doesn't, it just, as long as we start the system going, it can be any way that you want it to be. It can be 10 a day. Just a couple of months, whatever helps you guys in the long run. That's my goal. Okay, buy side. So buy side is probably one of my favorite tools. Buy side is a plugin to brokers' websites that clients can go onto and get a possible home evaluation of what their home may be worth in today's market. So the flyer on the left is something that we can make if you wish to use it the old school way, but it's all online. So when you plug in your address, you get 3 possible estimates. This is what a robot's telling you, contact me today and your broker, to get the true estimate of what your your home's worth. But in this video, this is kind of what it looks like when you do a search for this house, which has 4 bedrooms and 1 bath. Those are the 3 generated estimate points. There's a heat map of how many people are looking for a house just like that. If I can go back a little bit. So there's a heat map of how many people are looking for a house just like theirs. For a 4-bedroom house, a lot of 4-bedroom houses are going to be in South King County. Not many 4 bedrooms in, Seattle. But then when it goes down to here, sorry. These buttons are way too close together. But when you go down to buyer activity, this is the internet search of how many people are looking for a house just like yours that you inputted. So about 4 million people are actively searching for a house just like theirs. 81,000 people are looking for a, I think that says
Same school district.
Same school district. Thank you very much. Down to same school district and price range to they want 4 bedrooms, they want that price range, and they want that school district. Which I think is kind of interesting because not only could this be a listing presentation to be like, this is what's the activities going on in your house. This also could be a buyer's presentation. For buyers that want to move in that neighborhood, you could pull this up and just pick a random, or I wouldn't say pick a random house, but pick a house in that neighborhood and go, look how many people are looking for a house just like this one that you want to buy. Maybe we should write an offer a little bit higher. But my favorite tool is these are people that are currently working at John L. Scott that have their clients in Property Tracker wanting a house just like that. So this possibly, and I don't want to get in trouble, I'm not licensed, but this possibly could be a deal where you could contact these John L. Scott brokers going, hey, I saw your clients were in Property Tracker. I have clients that are possibly going to be listing their house maybe one day in the future. Maybe we can squeeze off an off-market deal. Don't quote me on that. But it is a possibility. And that goes to all the way down to recent sales in that neighborhood. And then, again, this is just an evaluation, contact me for more. But what we can do at the front desk is we can input your clients into buy side. So that they can get this monthly evaluation. So housing campaigns are at the beginning of the month, buy sides at the end of the month, and then once they're plugged in there, they get a home evaluation on their property, and they can see how much their home value goes up every month, especially in this market. But yeah, for this one, all we need is names, emails, and addresses. If you don't have emails, we have the flyers that my staff can make for you, and then we can do it the old school way where we can print them and then you can stuff and mail them. But I love MySide. I think that's a pretty neat tool.
Yeah, it looks like a super handy tool.
Any questions about Best
That's in my desk.
BuySide is in my desk. So the back side of BuySide, you go into the broker's My Desk account and then you can see everyone that's done it. So you can either input it yourself or people can visit your website and they can do it themselves. So you can see everything. And you can even see people that have visited it. It grabs their URL, whatever internet creepy stalking information, whenever you visit a site, which I think is kind of cool, but sometimes you don't want that. But yeah, and then anytime someone inputs it, you get an email.
That's through the broker?
Through the broker, correct.
Okay.
So if you go on commission, you would have your own website. And then this would be linked in. Or we have teams that share. So Jerry and Tina, they share a website.
Yeah, I noticed that one's good. It was Jerry has a website, Tina has a website, and then they also have
yeah, it's just the back end, but everything that you need to do would be on the Howard and the K.
When it says when it was going through and it had like all the different houses that met that criteria,
Mhm.
can you get the contact information for those people, or do you have to use like that buyer ID somehow?
The buyer ID is property tracker through John L. Scott. You can't get like you mean like the triangle? Or just the property tracker?
Like, so if I was using this as a buyer's agent, and I said, okay, like these are the houses that are for sale.
Yeah, so.
Would it be easy to just like take those and?
Yep. So when you go to my desk. This is so small.
I swear I always type worse too when people are watching.
Yeah.
I forgot how to type now. I've never
So
typed before.
let's stock size account. Oh, as assistants, you have access to remote login to your broker's MyDesk account, which is what I just did. So at the top where it says manager, or excuse me, manage, you can type in your broker's name and you can remote access into yours. If that is not in there, let your staff, your office manager know, or let me know, and then I'll contact broker care and we'll get that plugged in, because you should be logging into your own site. I mean, it's not, there's no rule against logging into your brokers, but it just in case you do just keep logging into yours, you have remote access to your brokers. So like Evan, you should have Brenda, Jerry, if you don't yet, unless you're just logging into theirs.
I've just been using mine. Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. And I'm glad that's auto set up. Okay, so when you're on your broker's site, there's a buy side button here. And this is the back end of buy side after someone has submitted their blah, 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 wanting a home evaluation. So where their buyers plug themselves in, Evan, right where it says buyer, that's where you can go in and see all of the property tracker people that are interested in a property just like yours. Yeah. And then right here where all the evaluations are, that's where my site is. So when you go to my leads, this is everyone that's plugged themselves in. So I do every broker in the office. So this is all of your bosses. So that they see what they're getting. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I did myself out of my PowerPoint. Nope. Ah! All right. Okay. Okay, so I'm happy to announce as of next week, you can buy at the Renton office, and you can buy these too, just not some of them. You can start buying black books at the front desk. I'm so excited. I've been trying to get these for a year and a half now. So anything that you see in front of us, you can purchase at the front desk. Talk to Amy about black books.
I know Josh uses them, so I'm sure that's not
awesome. In the world we live in Amazon 2-day shipping, I just wanted everything here at the front desk so you don't have to wait a week for shipping. So we've got unibinders. These are at both offices. Unibinders are hardcover books that you can put stuff in for presentations. So we've got the Seattle one, there's Exceptional Homes, there's the house one, and then I'm not sure about Kent, but we have really big ones because these small ones only can hold about 30 to 40 pages, but we have these big ones that I'm pretty sure hold like 200. Yeah. So we have a little shop at the Renton office, where you can buy stuff. You can get unibinders and John L. Scott holders. John L. Scott holders are $1.30. The small unibinders are $8, and then the big ones are $12. Black boxes will be $30. And then what else did I get? I don't know if you've seen them yet. I printed ones in the workroom just because so many people have been asking for them. But we will have the home buying advantage and selling your home guide, and it's like this really nice glossy presentation book. Oh my gosh, there it is! Ta-da! That was perfect. So it's just this really nice glossy presentation book that talks about, selling your home, that a lot of our brokers do use, but it just takes too long for shipping, and wanted to provide it at the front desk. And then whenever you buy it, it's just charged to your broker's account at the end of the month. It comes off of their statement, however they pay it. No upfront costs, which is nice. But yeah, it's a new thing, and it will all be in stock next week. Cool. And then I'll have an online order form, so you don't have to fill out a piece of paper. Save the trees. So starting in September, I teach tech classes. I've taught a couple Canva classes. If you guys are interested in me doing that again, they're on our YouTube channel if you just want to pop in and watch them. I think September's class is going to be like how to schedule Facebook and Instagram posts, and just easy, simple tech classes. Before COVID, we were kind of having like a workshop in our conference room here where I kind of shadow you and we kind of go through things step by step. Just the simple, embarrassing questions that you don't want to ask, but let's just rip off that Band-Aid and take care of it together. So we'll do Instagram, Canva, database questions, mail merging, anything you guys need, just let me know. Contact information, my cards are up front if you want to grab them. Yeah. One thing I did want to do is talk to you guys about a Facebook group we have. We have an assistant Facebook group back pre-COVID that we were all on. But your brokers all have, we're gonna watch me here to not remember my Facebook password. But we all the brokers have Facebook groups that are a part of. So when they need help with an open house, you can go onto the Facebook group, and it's only Renton Kent. So Kent brokers help Renton brokers, Renton brokers help Kent brokers. And if they ever, one second, please. But if you ever want to be a part of it, you are welcome to. So, and then yeah, just shoot me an email, or I can take down your, or I can friend you here now, and I'll add you to the group. But we have the open house page. So brokers that need help with open houses are all here. And then Renton's Best Realtors are more specific questions that need help with. So when brokers, are looking for recommendations for a CPA or recommendations for, roofing, something maybe that, you can't go walk around the office and ask. We have these available. And then we have a Renton and Kent admin operations one. So, in May, when we were hiring assistants, we were getting ready for this class, and I wanted to see if there was anything that you guys specifically wanted to talk about. And it was more of just like what's available at the front, at the office, what tools are available. But yeah, this is for everybody, and I can have you, when needed, But to get ready for next classes in the future, because I kind of want to get Shy and the Kent office to start doing, group sessions of how can we help you, manage a team? What little helpful tips, what PDFs, checklists, all that stuff. Like, let me know what you guys need, or if there's anything right now that you guys want to talk about that, maybe your broker talked about something a couple days ago and you're like, I don't know what this is. I can help you guys out with that.
I feel like I don't know what I don't know yet.
Yeah. Have you guys all
4 days of
taken
working.
Colin's John L. Scott Tools class yet? Okay. JLS Canvas. So Colin teaches a more in-depth class. Colin's our office manager. He teaches a more in-depth class of the basic tools of what John L. Scott Corporate uses. So it's My Desk, it's SkySlope, where your brokers need to submit their contracts into. It's Property Tracker, which is like where you go and do the searches. If you haven't taken this yet, I totally recommend doing it. I popped in there, to be completely honest, myself after working here for 7 years to remind myself how to use Property Tracker, or I want to learn a little bit more about stats or something like that. Just as a refresher. And it's always good because maybe we add something new I don't know. But that tool we always recommend our new brokers and assistants to take. And it is online. Everything we're doing is in person and online. And then tree. And then everything that we do, including this class right now, will be on our YouTube channel by the end of the week. So anything that you guys need, so like my class is up there. I'm like how to label water bottles. Shy's classes of multiple offers. I did a class of how to make a link tree. Just little things, how to use the binding machine, how to print on cards. Colin's classes on there if you just want to pop in there. I taught my Canva classes back during lockdown, since most people work in the office and they need to do marketing themselves. Or if you need an extra tool on how to do something in SkySlope, it's all on our YouTube channel, and this class will be up there as well. Sweet. Let me just chat the chat real quick. I think we're fine. Anything you work for Josh Hall?
I do, yeah.
Who do you work for?
Yvonne Frank.
Oh, awesome. I like Yvonne. Sweet. Well, awesome. That's it. Thanks for all coming. Thanks everybody in Zoom. You guys know how to reach me if you guys need anything. It's exciting. It might seem a little overwhelming, but we're all here to help you.
Thank you.
I'm probably gonna ask for your help about buy side the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, totally.
I'm just trying to make the 4 databases
Into one, yeah.
so,
Yep. Is it all in Excel? Or
some of it's in Excel, some of it's just on paper, some of
yeah,
it's everywhere.
yeah, it is everywhere. My broker that I used to be an assistant for was just paper. You just look through like a little black book. I was like, this is got to change. Steve Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Good old Steve.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Are you going back to the camp?